So here we are at the beginning with all the parts laid out. It's good quality wood and nicely laser cut, as is pretty much standard these days. Full size plan is supplied, but as I stated earlier, there are no instructions. I started with the fuselage. Here I have one side pinned to the board, added longerons and doublers. When that was dry, I built the second side directly on top of the first, so I should then have matching left and right hand sides. The two sides came together in my select jig, which is particularly useful for fuselages like this, where at no point are two sides parallel. It is actually a useful tool to have in any event, as it ensures you get a straight fuselage. Out of the jig, a fuselage top sheet added, plus forms and stringers, ready for sheeting the rear section. For the rear sheeting, I made a card template from a cereal packet to get the right size. Glued and pinned at the bottom with PVA glue. When that was dry, wetted the sheeting, and when sufficiently pliable, pinned to the formers. Left to dry, which only took about an hour I think, before finally gluing in place. Balsa block has been added to the top and bottom of the front fuselage, planed and sanded the shape to accept the cowl built for the previous version. Engine fitted to enable final fitting and fixing of cowl. Next I tackled the tailplane, which is of built up construction, fully symmetrical and then sheeted. I salvaged the elevators from the first Calypso and hinged them to the new tailplane. The wings are also of built up construction, fully symmetrical as you'd probably expect, and so the ribs have tabs at the trailing edge to allow the wings to be built flat on the board. The wings went together very quickly, so then it was time to join the left and the right sections. One flat to the bench with the other popped up by 50mm, giving the required dihedral. Retracts and aileron servos fitted. Again I used card from a serial packet for the wheel enclosures. I used the supplied servo mounts but made my own cutouts as I used smaller servos. I no longer use paper tubes in the wing for servo wires. I just put a drawstring in between the servo position and the centre position. Front and rear spars have webbing both sides, making this a very stiff construction, particularly once the sheeting is also added. Wing false leading edge taped on while the glue dries. Tailplane and fin now fixed in position. Control rod to elevators installed and tested. Then it was time to install and test the closed loop system for the rudder, after which the underside of the fuselage was sheeted, this pretty much completing the construction. Then came the very important task of balancing the model with my simple balance jig. Just needed to move the receiver battery back level with the wing trailing edge to get it balanced between the forward and rearward positions shown on the plan. It will probably move back a little when covered, but it will still be closer to the forward position. A couple of images of the completed model. Just need to get on with the covering and then get that made and done. Might wait until it's a bit warmer though. Okay, so the model's now all covered. I used solar film super shrink polyester covering for the yellow and solar trim red for the trim, plus Guild red paint to paint the engine cowl. The final weight is £6 3 ounces, which I think is pretty good for a 64-inch span model. So I think the OS 55 up front should pull that around with reasonable haste. Look forward to the maiden.